Hello, my name is Bob Brown, and it's my privilege to host this show, which is based on the reality that Westborough is a great town filled with interesting people. Many of them are long-term residents who have so many memories and stories about life in Westborough in days gone past. And so your local cable station, Westborough TV, has initiated this series of programs which are designed to reflect upon life in earlier days and to possibly make suggestions about how we can improve life in this fine town for the future. Well, it's great to have you guys here. I'd like to introduce to the people who don't know, John Arnold and Dexter Blois, longtime residents of Westborough and families that have been in this town since it began.
Nice to be here, Bob.
Just about. So, what I'd like to do is just to get us started is to have them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what their families have done in town and what they've done in town, experiences that they've had. So, Dexter, would you be willing to start? Just introduce yourself. And
my name is Dexter Blois. I've lived in town all my life so far. My father before me, my grandfather before that, and my great-grandfather before that. My grandfather started a drugstore in the center of town.
Yeah.
And I was the third-generation pharmacist there before we closed it down. The old-fashioned drugstore with a soda fountain and whatever else was there.
Right in the Rotary, right?
Right at the Rotary, yeah. Right across from the Telegram, right next to Lowe's Variety Store. People remember Lowe's Variety. And I closed that down, and then I went to work for the town and continued that vocation for 25 years and retired as the town manager from the town of Ashland.
Great.
So, and have lived in town with the exception of a couple of years after college in town all my life.
Great. Now, your dad was also in the fire department, wasn't he?
My father was on the fire department. My grandfather was fire chief for 25 years in Westborough.
Was he really?
Yep.
And it was your grandmother, I think, who was the treasurer at the church when I came, and she used to give me my pay.
She would have been my grandmother Ethel.
Yes.
But I go back further than that because my great-grandfather was custodian of the church when the steeple blew off in the 38 hurricane.
Is that right? Wow.
So.
A lot of attachments.
A lot of attachments.
Great. John, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your relationship to the town.
Well, my mother and father came from Canada, Nova Scotia. And when they first came here, I believe they lived on South Street, just before you get to Beach Street. Then they moved down onto Water Street, where I was born, 1934. It was a little ranch house on Water Street that I think Greg O'Neill bought, tore it down, and built a house to begin with. So when they lived there, there was a Kimball's Laundry on Phillips Street.
Yeah.
Dexter and you guys.
I remember that.
Remember that, okay.
Bill's brother, yeah.
And somehow my father got to know the Kimballs quite well for some reason, and they owned a piece of land on Belknap Street, 7 or 8 acres of land on Belknap Street. And my father, they owned the land because they had a horse, and they had a little camp up there in a little barn that they kept the horse in. And so my father dickered with them, and he bought the land off of him. And we moved up there, and we we lived in this camp from 38 till probably about 44, I think it was, something like that. And the 38 hurricane come along about the time that we moved up there, and at the time there was a lot of pine trees and stuff that on the property, and where E.L. Harvey and Sons lived, the father owned all that land down there on the Hopkinton Road, and there was a lot of pine trees there, and my father went to him and asked him what they're going to do with the pines, and he said, if you want the pines, you take the pines. And so my father came up with the idea to build a log cabin.
Great.
So we lived in the camp there until we got the log cabin built. There was an old fellow by the name of Alston Keyes that lived on Warren Street. If you went down Moore Street and continued on Moore Street across the Upton Road and up the hill to Warren Street, he lived in that old farmhouse up there with the barn, and he helped him build the cabin. And there was a few others. Old Mr. Caprian helped him, and there was a few people that town helped him build it. And they did it from scratch. They blew the foundation out. It was all ledge, and then they blew the foundation out. They did all the blasting themselves and stuff like that. And it was quite an experience because we lived up there with no running water and no heat and no electricity.
Yeah.
The only heat we had was a wood stove or a kitchen stove in the little cottage that we lived on there, you know. And so it was quite an experience. And then my father got killed in 1945. Shortly after he come into the, excuse me.
Yeah, that's all right. That's emotional stuff.
So we never really enjoyed the log cabin, you know.
Yeah.
And my mother was stuck with 7 children.
Wow.
We had seven kids, but she did a great job. She went to work nights taking care of sick people and so on, and we made it through, and the family turned out quite well. Excuse me for...
You certainly have done quite well.
I'll second that. Because I've known John all my life. I went to school with one of his brothers and have known his family as he has known mine because we lived in town.
Sure.
You know, we've been here, and parents have been here. So.
Well, you've got brothers, at least one brother that lives up on the same hill with you, don't you?
Yeah, my brother Herbie
Your
lives...
son's behind you.
Right. My brother lives on, next to me, and my brother Zane lives up in Spring Road. My brother Herbie lives down and just moved down to Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Got a sister that lives in Chatham, and 2 sisters that live in Grafton.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So we had some rough times, but we all survived. And
Yeah, you've done very well.
yeah, family was very close.
Now, you also worked for the town, right?
I went to work for the town in 1963. I was kind of lucky because when I got out of high school, a couple of years later, the Mass Turnpike was being built, and I got a job on the Mass Turnpike, which was a great help to me because the pay was great.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot there, you know. And then I got drafted in the service, and when I came out of the service, about 1962 or so, the fellow that was on the highway department, charged the highway department, was retiring, and the job came up, and I ran for it, and I got elected to the job.
Great.
And I held that till 1978. I went to work for Goodall for a year, and then the gas company approached me for a job, and I went to work for Commonwealth Gas in Southborough.
Super.
Yeah.
Just to digress for a moment, you're up on Belknap Street. Are you still having trouble with the turnpike, the runoff? And
Oh, yes.
I don't want to get too political about
Yeah.
this, but I know that's
Yeah.
been a real problem.
Quite a bit. It hasn't affected my property. It has affected my son because he lives behind me. And my mother, when we lived there, the salt got into the aquifer because we didn't have town water. We had a well. It got into the aquifer, and it ruined a well. And at that time, she worked for Burge Taschen as a house lady, taking care of the house, and the children were quite young then. And he went to the Mass Pike, and they ran the water. Well, in the meantime, I had, just to go back in history a little bit, meantime, when I come out of the service and so on, I purchased a piece of land off my mother, and I built my house there, okay? And I had the water, the town, my brother Herbie and I, we paid to have the water run up Belknap Street. So my mother had a chance to tie onto that back in the, I think she probably about mid-70s when the toll road actually ruined the wells in the area up there, So between the salt and, I'm not sure the name of the, Dexter might know, but an additive that you put in gas, got into the aquifer because he had a tank leak up there, and it got down into the aquifer. It's still there.
It's still there, yeah.
Yeah, it's still there, and they did, a couple of years ago, they went in and tried to repair it, but it hasn't really worked that good.
Wow.
It's going to be there for years unless they...
It is.
You know, like any gas spill. And you see gas stations pulling up tanks and replacing them these days because it's such a problem.
Yeah.
You know, the old tanks that rust out, and you don't know they're rusting out until it's too late.
Yeah.
We had that same problem at the VIAC.
That's right.
Where, you know, where we're looking to build a public safety building.
That's right.
We've got the contamination yet today. In fact, we were talking about it just this morning as to what it's going to cost us, or the potential of what it's going to cost the town
to remove it.
Yeah.
Well, it's do we remove it? Do we leave it there and cap it if we build a building? And there's a lot of timing issues here as to what we have to do as far as the state's concerned, vis-a-vis what we do if the building's going to be built.
So years ago, they didn't have the regulations that they have nowadays.
right.
So when the old building burnt down, they took the old foundation and saw a hole, and they put a lot of the timbers and stuff and buried them all in there. And we didn't realize this until such time as we started doing probing around in there and found this out.
But the leak from the gas station you across the street, I don't know that they've identified which station it came from, but when we were growing up, there was 2 gas stations on the other side of Milk Street, opposite the fire station.
Travis.
Travis and Joe
Antonio's. Who knows what tank it was that sprung a leak, but somewhere there's gasoline got into the groundwater. And so
Now you've got, just as a segue, to talk about the the potential public safety building. You've got test wells in there now? I
Yes.
see the
Yes, we
pipes.
do.
And that's what they monitor?
I think there's 6 or 8 of them there now. Yeah, we have to monitor them until such time as we complete the project.
Yeah.
Either we build the building and basically cover it over, make it impermeable,
Seal it, yeah.
or we take the earth out and take the water out and treat the water and
That's
get
immensely
the...
expensive, isn't it?
Oh, very,
Yes, yeah.
very.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
treat the water. I mean, you can't remove the water, but you
Right.
pump it out and treat it and put it back in the ground.
Wow.
It's put quite an extra burden on the
Yeah.
cost of the building and
Yeah.
stuff. Yep.
Why don't we keep going on this subject of the public safety building? Because you both are on that committee. You work for the town in official capacities, but now you as volunteers, you're on committees, and one
Right.
of them is the committee to build the public safety building if we ever get enough money.
Well, actually, we're on what used to be Municipal Sites and Facilities Committee is now the Municipal Building Committee.
Okay.
And our charge is the responsibility for
Any building,
building any building in
good.
town.
municipal building.
As far,
Right.
yeah, well, as far as the town's concerned, it's any building, but I think the school is responsible for their own, and certainly I don't want to get
Yeah.
involved in the school building, but so
Right.
that's
John
a
does.
side.
He
but-
likes that.
Yeah, well, you can do that if you want to, but
7 years of that.
but it's any municipal building, and right now, town meeting has charged us with the public safety or dealing with the issues of the police department and the fire department as far as space needs is concerned. And in that regard, at probably it's been 6 years ago now, the town saw fit to buy the VIAC property, which is the property adjacent to the present fire station, between the fire station and Phillips Street, same side of Milk Street.
Was that something your committee had to decide as to where that best
That-
site would be?
That was before we got
That was
there.
before we
That
got
was
there.
before, right?
The land was purchased before we actually
Right,
had
I
the
thought so.
new committee.
If you remember, and this goes back probably, time flies when you're having fun, probably 15 years, that the Municipal Sites and Facilities Committee was looking to, they presented a proposal to put the fire station on Brigham Street down in one of the old Bay State
Right.
buildings.
Right.
That fell on deaf ears, didn't happen. The police station years ago when we were growing up was in the basement of Town Hall.
Right. For the record.
Along with the
Right.
district court, along with everything else here. And the police station while I was in Town Hall, moved across the street to the Forbes Municipal Building. After that was abandoned as a school, and we rehabbed it and
Yeah.
remodeled it, and the police station moved over there, and then
You were town coordinator then?
they
Okay.
redid Town Hall at that point. The court had already moved out up
Yeah.
to Oak
Otis
Street.
Otis Street.
The new courthouse.
Oak Street.
Oak Street, yeah,
Oak
I'm
Street,
sorry, yeah,
yeah.
Oak Street.
But the police station was still in Town Hall, and they redid the selectman's office was upstairs in Town Hall. They moved it to the back of Town Hall when the courthouse moved out.
Right.
And as I say, the police station was there. It moved across the street. I can't tell you, the early 80s. I lose track of dates.
But in selecting that site, they really presented you with a very difficult problem, did they not, in terms of finding a way to house both the fire department and the police department, take care of parking and all that sort of stuff?
It was kind of, it's a tight area, tight site, really.
Yeah.
And when we first come on, they had a plan, a rough plan and so on, and the parking was inadequate and so on. So we went ahead and we hired a new architect firm, and we came up with a different plan, and it's actually a 3-story building. It's going to be set right on. It's going to be set right on a sidewalk, basically.
Yeah, keep right on going describing it if you can.
I have some pictures here
Good,
too.
great.
Oh, did you bring
Yeah.
pictures? Oh, good,
Yeah.
John.
Super.
Should have brought the boards down. I got those boards.
Oh, you still have the big boards?
Yeah, I still got
I don't know whether this will show up or not.
Well,
but
you hold it up, just face the camera
Okay.
and hold it up. And
Oh, this-
in that regard, Dexter, just to interrupt you, if you have additional pictures, we can add them after this is
They're
finished.
the same pictures, but they're on
Great.
24
Big-
by 36 boards.
Yeah, great.
So if you'd rather, I
no,
can
no,
get
go
those.
show them now, and then we'll.
I don't know if you
Well,
can
this here
see-
is,
Can you get those?
You see that all right, Alex?
Yeah, Donna's telling me that we're just gonna scan them
Okay.
later.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
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 well, this here view is coming up Milk Street by the Dairy Queen. This is what you'd see as you come up leaving Westborough on 135, okay? This view is the same direction, only it shows you more of the front of the building.
Wow, yeah.
Okay. As you can see, it's a pretty sizable building, 63,000 square feet. Okay.
So
And this,
in its design, you're maintaining the decor of the town, though, aren't you? Similar
we
to-
have.
Yeah, we are.
We did. As you can see, the facade on the very top matches a lot of the buildings in
Yeah.
the center of town.
Yeah.
Okay. This here picture would be like if you were standing at Village Lumber, looking across the street. This is the view you'd see.
Wow.
So it's I think it's a pretty nice looking building.
So the engines are still going to come out on Milk Street then?
The engines will come out on Milk Street. The first responders will come out on Milk Street.
Right.
Okay. The second responders and the ambulance will come out on Phillip Street. And we propose to have a light on Phillip Street that would be activated as they leave the building and so on to stop the traffic on Milk Street.
Yeah.
Okay. We think we've thought of everything, but there's always things that come up that we didn't think about, and
No,
so I'm sure.
I've listened to a lot of your comments over the years, and it sounds good.
The intent is that the police headquarters will be on this end,
Okay, yeah.
second and third floors, and fire will be on the other end. Now, on this end, there's only one floor above the apparatus bay. There's not two, because the
It's not-
apparatus
yeah.
bay takes up two floors.
Two floors.
Big
You
engines.
can see here. So there's only the one floor above it, but that'll be the quarters and the offices and for the firefighters, and the chief, should be back here.
Yeah.
And the chief's office will be in the front of that.
Great.
Police chief will be on the other side of this tower. This tower is a lobby, 3 floors of lobby that will, with glasses, you can look out to the street.
Great.
Be elevator access, controlled access all the way through. But once you get through the dispatch down here, you can get on the elevator and go to another floor.
Yeah.
You just won't be able to access any space off of the lobby without somebody being there.
Yeah.
But the dispatches and all the welcome is on the first floor. There'll also be a meeting and training room on the first floor, so that might be available for the public if it wasn't being used by police or fire.
Up in this corner here, there's going to be a kitchen, and you see this opening
Oh, yeah,
spot?
yeah.
Well, it's going to be an outside spot where the fellows can come out and eat their dinner and so
Right.
on, guys
Right.
and girls or whatever. Right down here, you see this spot here.
Yeah.
This is going to be a memorial, and we have a piece of steel we're getting from the 9/11 building
Are
in
you really?
New York City. And sometime we got to find out, we're going to have to go down and pick it up and bring it home, and it's going to be inserted right in this area here.
Did any of our guys go to that?
No.
Okay.
Now, after this building is built, okay, it'll be occupied right away by the fire department. Now we've got to go over and tear
And
down.
police. And police.
Well, it won't be occupied by the police until such time as we tear down the old fire station, so we have parking for both.
Okay.
So we have public and police parking.
So the old station has to come down, right?
The old station's gonna have to come down. Yeah. In order to get parking and so on, we had to take the old building down.
Yeah.
You can see here, the old building stands where these flagpoles are.
Okay, yeah.
And just the front corner of it will be a memorial, as there is a memorial over there now, but
Yeah, right.
behind it will be public parking, and then behind the fence, the green fence there, is employee parking.
Great.
Both of those accessible from Grove Street.
Yeah.
So as John said, we've tried to think of everything. We spent a lot of time, a lot of meetings on it, going over everything with an architect. The architect, as you can see here, has done what we've wanted in keeping, as you mentioned, Bob, with the town decor.
Yeah, right.
The brick that's throughout town.
Right.
Different vintages of brick,
Great.
different vintages of construction, but they all tie into the
Right.
late 1800s when that part of town was either it burned down. Here, behind here was the old wooden hat factory, one of the hat
Right,
factories,
yeah.
Right.
and it burned down a couple of times. It burned down. There was a saddle factory in there before it was the hat factory, and it
Was it
burned
really?
down too. So
Will you-
lots happened.
Excuse me, will you be excavating? I mean, will you, assuming you can dig, will there be a cellar in this building?
No.
Okay.
No cellar.
The
Slab.
building will be a slab on grade.
Yep.
That's how you cap it then.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Yep.
We talked about a cellar, but we get into problems with the cellar, even with storage in the cellar, and particularly with the water
Must
problem.
be wet too.
VIAC had a cellar down there, and it was fine.
Was it?
The water table is probably 8 feet below grade there.
Yeah.
So we could get something in, but we opted not.
It's pretty marginal, though.
Well, the existing fire station has a sump pump,
Yeah.
and
It
they've
has a
used
cellar.
it periodically.
But it's
so,
damp.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
In this day and age now, just in addition to making it an attractive building, do you have to do anything additional to make it secure? I mean, there must be some
Oh, yeah.
things you have to do to keep people from just wandering in, or
As I
Yes,
as I
that's
mentioned
right.
with the
Yeah.
with the
There's a lot
lobby,
of that.
is there?
with the lobby, people would access the building through this portico here, and into the lobby,
Yeah.
and the dispatch area and the reception area would be there, and there would be access to the second and third floor, but you could only access the lobbies without somebody being there to let you into an office or into a workspace. But not only is the regular workspace secured, but even back of that, there's got to be additional security for, in police instance, evidence,
Yeah.
records.
Yeah.
In the fire instance, they've got records that have some security, and we've even had problems with the computer systems that they've got to be
Dispatch
separate.
area has to be bulletproof.
Yeah.
Even the windows, the outside windows and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's what, okay, good. Is there going to be a holding operation there?
Yes, there
Yep.
will be a cell block.
Yep.
How long will they be, you may not know, but how long will they be able to keep prisoners there? Do they have to transfer them out at some point to the county? Or do they?
Generally they're held locally, no matter what town it's in. They're held locally until they're arraigned,
To a court? Yeah, okay.
and that may be as long as 4 or 5 days if it's over in a weekend. If it's Friday afternoon on a long weekend, it may not be till Tuesday morning till they get to court. Well, that's
Yeah.
all of Friday, or half of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and to Tuesday. So it could be 5 days. And then typically they're either let out on probation. They're
Yeah. Right.
either discharged, held, or they go to county jail
Right.
up in the Boylston.
Okay.
But they wouldn't come back. Typically, they wouldn't come back to Westborough for any additional
Right,
holding time.
Did you have to do anything for juveniles? There used to be.
We have a juvenile cell there, I believe.
Yes, we do, yeah.
One. I think there's just one juvenile
One.
cell.
Yeah.
Because I remember.
That's a different type of cell.
Back in my day, they were going through that whole redesign to make sure it was.
You didn't mingle them in with
No,
the,
Right.
yeah.
no bars. You can't commingle them. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's accounted for. Plus, we have also a what's called a holding tank, which you could, if you had several of the same type of arrest, you could put them all in one area.
Yeah. Great. Does it take into account the potential expansion of the fire department? And in that connection, I think, John, some time ago you mentioned that we may be running to the time when you don't need such big trucks because you're going to have most of the buildings in town sprinkled, and
Exactly.
does that change the whole dynamic of
Well,
turns?
When we designed this for expansion. So over the police department in the back side,
Fire department. See where it's only 2 floors here?
Yeah.
And there's another level which you can't see around the back
Okay.
that it could be
well, yeah, it would
added
be
to.
over it's over the apparatus bay.
Could-
work,
It
yeah.
could be added to if needed be, but hopefully we've planned for build out of the town,
Yeah, right.
that
Right.
this will accommodate the number of
Right.
offices that both chiefs, let's go back a bit here. We had 2 studies done, John mentioned them, and they identified manpower needs and space needs for both departments. We commissioned a second study for 2 reasons. We weren't satisfied with the design that came out of the first study because of the parking. John mentioned that. But also we wanted to corroborate the information that was provided in the first study, just to make sure that, because we're spending a lot of money here,
yeah.
that we don't want to come back in 10 years and say it's too small, we need more space. The second architect came in almost nail on the head, almost identical space needs and manpower needs for the department based on current trendings. So we hope that we've designed the building for well into the future,
Good.
50 years into the
Great.
future,
Yeah.
as far as space needs. You know, after that you get into rebuild, demolition and rebuild, and who knows what's going to happen
Sure.
after 50 years. But
Yeah.
the main station that was built in 1888 has lasted better than 100 years. Now it's been added to in 2 separate phases, but the main 4 bays that were used for the horses, when the horses pulled the fire apparatus, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's a little different, but it's still there.
The front is different, so
Yeah.
yeah,
But
the bays are there.
it's still there, you know. And you can
Yeah.
go back to the old pictures and see that the horses used to pull the hose wagons and the steamers out of the garage, and the horses were kept across the street.
Where they got? Okay.
And it's there, but as I say, added on and modified and whatnot to
You
take care
don't-
of today's apparatus.
You don't have the fires and stuff that you had years ago, 50 years ago and so on. You don't have the brush fires yet like you did. You don't have the building fires yet. You
There's
did.
no brush left
Yeah,
almost, John.
so, I mean, it's...
When we were kids,
when I was a kid, the fire truck was running all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting brush fires off the railroad tracks or whatever, You don't have that now.
Yeah.
So. The ambulance calls are the biggest.
the
They're in
biggest,
and out,
right,
in
yeah.
and out all the time,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big call.
Where your mother would have, if you got hit in the head with a stone and had a cracked head or something, she'd patch it up. But nowadays they have to go to the emergency ward, so it's not quite the same as it was 60, 70 years ago.
That's right. Call the ambulance.
yeah, 911 didn't exist then.
Right.
What is there any way of estimating what do you think it will finally cost when it gets around to being built?
The total cost,
Yeah.
not including the land, it's around $30 million.
30 million.
That's from start of design to give me the key.
Right.
Now you are pretty well along in the design. Would there be any chance that any of this federal money would be coming to make any start
We have
now
an
possible?
application in for it.
Yeah.
We were probably one of the first ones in. Whether we get it or not, to be a...
You haven't had any feedback about
No.
it yet.
And there wouldn't be any change in design because of the stimulus money.
Yeah.
This is,
The stimulus money was there, or if it gets here, it is for a project that's
Ready to go.
shovel ready. We're 99 and 44 100% ready to put the shovel in the ground. And the only thing we have yet to do is to bid the project. And we went to the selectmen a month ago,
about a month ago,
a
yeah.
month and a half ago, and asked them, we're to the point where we're ready to go out to bid, but to spend $50,000 on a project that you're not going to put on a town meeting warrant makes no sense.
Right,
When the bids are only good for 30, at best 45 days.
Yeah.
And a lot of discussion, we went back and forth. Again, we're not the politicians, we just present the case and let the politicians make the decisions.
Right.
In their infinite wisdom, they decided not to. That's fine.
Yeah.
Tell us when you want us to come back, give us some lead time. We'll put the bids on the street and be back to you with a real number. And the idea is to have a real number so that folks know when they vote on it at town meeting, and ultimately the ballot, because it's going to have to be a debt exclusion question on the
Right.
ballot, that
Okay, yeah.
you know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big decision. So
It is. It's a
what
big
would your
investment.
projection be if we don't do it this May? Would there be an October meeting or?
That's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Could be
yeah.
next
Could
May,
be May.
next Springtown meeting.
But this is built under the new state code.
Right.
So there shouldn't be any change, even if it's a year or a year and a half from now. Should be no change to it as far as the design or construction.
But the two
of this
departments
building.
must be pretty itchy about it at this particular
Of
point.
course.
Oh,
yeah.
sure they are, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they can taste it almost,
Yeah.
and they can see these pictures, and they've been working on the plans
Right.
as far as, I'll say, the microscopic space needs for office. Well, can we make this office a little bigger? If we make this one a little smaller, do you need? And they've been fine-tuning all of these, fine-tuning where the light switch is going to be, or
Where
where
the phone
the
jack is or whatever. You know.
where is this a secure room or not a secure room? And if it is, how do we get, who has access, so we've really been down integrally with the department to make sure that their needs are within the building that's been designed. Because it makes no sense to, well, we got to go back during construction because the wall's in the wrong place.
And you know what contingencies cost, Bob?
Yeah.
Being through it on the
Yeah, change
schools.
orders.
That's right.
Change orders.
Yeah.
You know,
So we want to
I hate
minimize
to see them
those.
things given out.
Yeah. That's right.
So we've tried to cover everything. Grant you there's going to be some, don't get me wrong, but
There seems to be pretty good harmony between the police department and the fire department in town now.
as of right now there is, yes.
Is there ability to have common space, space that can be shared? If there's one good-sized meeting room, can one other department come in and use it? Can you move around like that in the building?
Yep.
Yeah, the individual, the group training rooms will accommodate either or both.
Good.
I mean, we've put it, and it was brought out, it has been brought out, that either the police or the fire department having training sessions in town and inviting other towns is a substantial financial savings to the town. Because
Yes,
the
absolutely.
attendees from Westborough don't have to pay.
That's right.
Whereas if we go somewhere else and they have, police have to have their 40-hour annual
Right.
retraining, and firefighters have to keep up to date with CPR, first aid, paramedic, they have all that training. if we can bring the instructor and others from other towns in, we don't pay.
So good training, right?
So we've
Great.
accommodated for that in this building, and again, that will take either police or fire, or if they have joint training session.
Good, great.
Aside from that, there's not too much. The dispatch area is common,
Yeah.
but aside from that, they're not.
Well, I'm not suggesting that it had to be combined, but just efficiency would say to me that if you've got
Well,
one
they
big
got-
space, share it.
Right. I mean, they've got the same
Same.
communication system, although they have their own phone numbers.
Yeah.
Each has their own, but they've got their own communications. They've got their
Own office
joint
space or
joint
whatever, yeah.
telephone, joint data. Even though they may go to different servers or different computers, there's just one line going through when they set it
Right.
when all is said and done.
Now, you mentioned the traffic light at Phillip Street as a potential to get the ambulances out. Is there have to be anything done down at the Rotary? You know, Milk
No.
Street backs up. How do you get people cleared out in front of you when you want to come out with
I
an
guess
engine?
with a siren
With a siren and a horn.
and the flashing lights.
Never been a problem before, Bob.
They seem to get
move.
through, so.
I don't know how.
They move. The cars move, and the
Yeah.
vehicles go
I
through.
personally would hate to see the Rotary go.
Oh, I'm not talking about having it go, but I didn't know if you'd put a light there that would just be an emergency light that would go on green to get people out of there.
No,
No.
Okay.
no. The lights are only at the fire station. In fact, the traffic study deemed that there isn't enough traffic there for a regular red, yellow, green light.
Yeah.
It'll be a flashing yellow or a flashing green, a flashing yellow, I guess, and then activated at the dispatch area when it needs to, when an apparatus needs to leave.
Go red, yeah. Good. Now, you've done a lot of study of this. Are we ready to put to bed the idea that there should be substations around town?
Oh, I think so.
I think
I
that was
can't
put
see
to-
where the town
put
of
to bed.
Westborough ever need that.
That was put to bed before we got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, the furthest spot in town is 2 miles.
Yeah.
That's at the end of Flanders Road.
Right.
You know, I always thought I lived better like 3 miles when you had to walk back and forth to town, but it's only 1.75 miles to my house. So,
yeah.
you know,
And the construction, you're satisfied that this is an economical way to do it? You've had some folks suggesting other construction methods. You've had to confront that.
we did. We confronted that. We even notified the company that had the estimate in, and they never returned our emails or our written.
Good.
So,
Great.
It's not a cheap
It's-
building. You
no,
know,
yeah.
People have said, you just read recently in the paper about the Holden Public Safety Building. Well, you really can't compare apples and oranges if you don't know what type of orange it is or what type of apple it is.
Right.
And this is designed for Westborough, not designed for Holden,
Good.
not designed for any other town. This is designed for Westborough. We've looked at other buildings, but only so that we could see what was the capability of the architect,
Great.
you know, in other towns. What type of work did he do?
Yeah.
Not that we're taking a building from another town and trying to copy it here. This is a Westborough Fire
Yeah.
Police Station,
Yeah.
public safety station.
Great.
you know, you have people come up and say, you know, there's a lot of empty buildings around town. Why don't you move the police department into the empty building? Well, you'd have to be on a committee to realize what's involved in having a police station and
That's
so
right.
on, with the lockup and the whole works and so on. You just can't take any building and move the police department into
And
it.
in a sense, you've already done that. The idea of the Bay State building was
That's
thought
right.
about. And
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Right.
Too many impracticalities.
This area has been the best area for it. I mean, the traffic can get in and out of the
Yeah.
building and so on, and
Yeah.
they have for years and years. So,
That's right. That's right.
And you mentioned about we're trying to keep it with downtown.
Yeah.
Well, that's another issue. We've got a committee out there, a town board, official
right.
town board, that says you've got to do these kind of things.
That's right.
You can't put up a Butler building here and keep it within the guidelines of that designer review board.
That's right.
So, you know, not that that's a negative, but in order to comply with all the regulations that town meeting has voted over the years,
Yeah.
it's the public vote.
this is
so.
the kind of building we have to come
Well,
up
there's
with.
there's some logic to that. I mean, that can be very, very frustrating, I'm sure, to builders that want to build. But you're looking at a building, 50-year-old building, and you're trying to integrate it into a town, and so you're better off spending it now and doing it right than throwing up some piece of junk and having to tear it down and
Well, but it might not be a piece of junk.
Well,
The
I mean-
Butler building or a wood frame building or whatever type of building may be fine in another setting.
That's right.
But in this setting, in downtown Westborough, we've got guidelines that we have to follow.
Right.
Those guidelines voted by town meeting, voted by selectmen, voted by whomever they were voted by, said that you got to go this way.
See, the average person in town doesn't realize that.
That's right.
Unless they follow the town government, they don't
Yeah.
realize what this happens, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a great job.
Oh, thanks.
I really appreciate you talking about it, and I think that'll be helpful to folks to have a chance to review this and take a look at it and hear your words about it. But you guys are also on the country club committee, aren't you?
By the way, yes,
Yes,
we are.
we are, yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, that's a
I'm
good-
impressed the way
That's
that's
fine
being
committee.
kept. It's a fine-looking
Yeah.
course. I don't know anything about it personally from being on it, but from the street it looks great. So
Well, there aren't too many other towns that can boast 85 acres of green space, half a mile from downtown, that's open to the public for use basically any time of the year, whether it's wintertime for sledding or summertime for golf, and associated with the golf course, but not controlled by the golf course, is conservation land, which has the Charm Bracelet Trail
right.
through it
Right.
between the golf course and Mill Road, and it runs parallel to the golf course and ends up over by the parking area for Mill Pond. That costs the taxpayers not one single dime.
Yep.
Yep.
Great.
It's all maintained, operated,
So
controlled
users' fees.
by
Takes care
user
of it.
fees.
Yep.
Yeah, and we put a lot of money into since I've been on the committee anyways, and Dexter's been on the committee, in upgrading the course. I mean,
Yeah. Now, help folks understand what the stabilization fund is. You're able to
I'm
hold.
going to let Dexter explain that, because
So
he's
I think that
so
people
familiar
are,
with this.
Well,
you hear it coming up at town meeting all the time. You get
Yeah.
quizzed about it every town meeting about whether the funds can be used for something else.
okay.
How they came
You're talking
about.
about enterprise fund,
Enterprise,
not
Enterprise, yes.
stabilization
Excuse me,
fund.
enterprise.
Enterprise.
Enterprise funds are allowed by state law, and they are a separate fund. The town runs regularly under what's called the general fund. That's where the school budget is, all the town budgets, all the operational budgets of the town, except for those that are held or are financially controlled by enterprise funds,
Okay. Yeah.
of which one is the golf course, of which another is the
Water and
sewer
sewer.
department, and of which a third is the water department.
Right.
You can also use them for rubbish collection. You can use them for other municipal services that have their own revenue stream and their own expense stream. So under the enterprise fund, it has to go to town meeting. The budget has to go to town meeting to be voted. It gets voted. We will be at town meeting on May 16th asking for funds to operate the golf course. Town meeting has to approve it. But the monies to do that are generated solely through user fees, whether it's a membership, an annual membership at the golf course, or greens fees that somebody pays on a daily basis.
Great.
Those funds are generated, they're held in a separate fund, they're invested if they're not being used right at the moment. And then when Treasurer decides that we need to have money to pay bills, then it gets transferred from savings to checking and the bill gets paid.
Right. So there's no tax money in it at all.
There is not one penny of tax money
Right.
that goes to operate the golf course. And in fact, when we started the enterprise fund, we went and we met with the town accountant, and she prepares on an annual basis an approximation of what the costs are incurred by the country club for services rendered by other town departments. For instance, DPW plows the parking lot. The treasurer writes checks. The town accountant keeps track of the money. We pay insurance on the buildings and liability on the golf course. Those were all paid for by the user fees back to the town. We reimburse the town for those expenses. So truly, as best we can come up with, there is nothing is paid for by the taxpayer. We reimburse the town for services. We collect money from the users.
Great. Do you run into any problem with the use of it in the wintertime with the volume of sledding and skiing going on?
Well,
I would think that would be.
We do. We do.
It's posted. You can't be there. No sledding allowed.
so they do it on their
Or,
own. I mean,
or
we-
do
we-
so at your own risk. You know, no lifeguard swim at your own risk. Well, this is no
Yeah.
referee sled at your own risk.
It's-
And we did
yeah.
that because there's been some accidents
Oh
up
yes,
there.
I had a major one when I came to town. I took a
Yes.
bunch of kids up there in the evenings tobogganing from the church, and we hit that fence down at the bottom. And
I was on one of those toboggans.
so you know what I'm talking
I
about.
absolutely do. We hit the corner of the
It's not
fence
like the
post
ski
and
tow, you know what I mean?
had a
They-
broken couple of legs.
That's
and
right, Karen Walden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've also had, I mean, a lot more recently than that, there was a young child that was killed or died from an accident that the sled came down and went into the sand trap, and
Right.
he bounced up, the
Wow.
kid bounced up and off the sled. I mean, that was probably 10, 15 years ago.
We had one ended up in the pond
Yeah,
this winter.
Just this winter.
Did you really?
Went
under
underneath
the
the
fence.
fence and into the pond.
We have it fenced
Wow.
off, and it slid under the fence. And
And no ice in the pond.
Jeez.
They pulled him out. He was okay, but a little shaken up, to say the least.
That was it. Wow.
yeah, you do, but it's been doing it for 50,
That's
75 years up there,
Oh,
you know.
It's
I
a
mean,
beautiful
more than
spot.
that,
People
more
love
than
to go.
that,
yeah, yeah. So
I can understand, on the one hand, the dangerousness of it, but the other thing I was concerned about is, does it tear your turf up? Does it?
did you think it was dangerous though when you were sliding down it? You had a lot of fun there,
I
right?
didn't go. I just watched these guys go and crash into the fence.
Maybe the sleds weren't as fast. Well, for one thing, we had sleds. We didn't have plastic they
That's
can't
right.
control. Kids are up there with inner tubes and plastic. They can't control them.
They
You
spin
know, and they
around
walk
and
right
they
back up
slide
through the
you.
middle, you know, where we were taught you don't walk up through the middle, you walk over the other side, or you're going to go home. You're going to take your sled and go home.
That's right.
But now they just, you know, so
Well, I have a very fast sled. My grandfather had a sled, one of the original flexible flyers.
flexible flyer.
Still got it.
Yeah.
And one day I took I think it was Glenn on my lap up to the top of the ski slope.
Oh, on Ruggles Street.
Oh,
It came down.
where'd you end up in South Street?
I ended up in Light Buddy's front yard. And if I hadn't hit the wall, I'd have still been going. That just, oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
crazy.
but at least you can steer those.
Well, yeah, but where are you going to steer it to? I mean, it was.
Oh, yeah, well,
See,
That
those
was
flexible
crazy.
flyers would always beat the Speedway.
Oh yeah.
I had a Speedway, and I would always come in last. But, you know, years ago, you could slide right in the streets.
That's right.
You know, we saw the Sander coming up Belknap Street when we were kids.
Let them go away.
They'd
Slide on Whitney Street.
they'd shut the Sander off and let us come
We used
by.
to slide over to
They
Whitney
shut
Street.
Whitney Street off years
Yeah,
ago and
sure.
let them slide.
Sure.
Kids don't have that fun now, so they
That's
got to
right.
slide somewhere.
That's right. That's right.
anyway, as well as sledding, though, it's active for cross-country skiing.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, it's a good track all the way around it, too.
Well, that wouldn't do you
cross
too
country.
much damage, I wouldn't think.
No.
No, but I
No,
mean, it
right.
is open for recreational
right.
purposes when the golf course isn't operating, is
Yeah.
what my point is.
Yeah.
Be it sledding or be,
But I
you know,
saw a fence at the top by one of your tees that seemed to
Yes.
say to people, "Don't come down here."
Two
Just-
reasons.
Yeah.
Not to damage it, and also it's pretty steep there.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
kids could get hurt there. I mean,
Yeah,
that really comes right off
Yeah.
steep, so they could get hurt there. So we do fence that off. After all the rain we had in March and April, you can go out there and play. You couldn't do that
Yep.
And
a
you
few
built a
years
beautiful
back.
equipment shed.
We built a nice equipment shed.
how long we built,
Yeah.
that was built in '03.
Yeah, that's when I came on the committee.
And that's when you built the
Yeah.
cupola.
Yes, I personally built the cupola.
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, yeah.
I remember seeing it go up.
And Harvey and Sons put the cupola on the roof
Right.
for us.
Yeah, they brought the crane down and
Put the crane on it.
volunteered their services to
Stood there
hoist
and
it up
watched it.
there.
I watched it. Yeah.
That's when they wanted to put the maintenance building over on, maybe Dexter was even for this, I don't know, but being an old golfer up there, but they wanted to put it over Mill Road, and I said to myself, you know, knowing this, it's a 9-hole course, it's never going to grow anymore. The equipment is more versatile than the old equipment. Why not just put a second floor in the building that we had
Be
there,
a sitting
okay?
duck over there too.
Huh?
It'd be a sitting duck over there too.
Yes.
That's right, and it's away from everything else. This way here, it's all congested into one area. So I went on it, and there was a fellow by the name of Earl Story, as you know. He was on the committee at the time and so on. We got our heads together, and we said, we'll put a second floor on it. So I went and saw a fellow in Shrewsbury, and he drew up a plan. We told him roughly what the building, we wanted to blend it in with
Yeah.
the area so it looked like
Sure.
a barn out in back of a
Yeah.
house, you know. So anyways, this is what we had in mind. We thought we could put pillars inside the existing building and set it on top of the pillars, and you wouldn't have to tear the old building down and save some money. Well, that wasn't going to work. So after we got an architect we had to get an architect being a town project and so on. They said, no, they wouldn't put their stamp on something. You got to tear the old building down.
So
So,
it was going to cost more
yeah,
to build around the old building than it would have
was.
been to tear it down and build a new
Build a
building.
new one.
Because that's just when
That's-
I came on,
right.
when I was on that building committee with you.
right.
Yeah.
So anyways, I went and saw Jim Harvey, and Jim says, I'll tear the old building down, he says, for the concrete out of it. So he probably saved us $40,000,
Wow.
Yeah.
you know. And
Great. Then we built a new building.
so we rented a couple boxes to, you know, the metal
Yeah.
trailers. We put the equipment in that while we built the building, and I think we got out of it for a little less than $400,000.
It was just over 3.
Yeah. I
Great.
think the bid was 380, something like that, or something like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great.
And it looks like a barn.
It does.
The
It's
cupola
great.
on it.
It's very attractive.
Yeah.
You know, we talked to the neighbors and made sure that everybody was on board. There's no
Yeah.
objections. They weighed in on the color. They weighed in on the style was okay. The doors were okay. Great.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, not that there's that many neighbors, but the folks across the street
Oh,
can see
absolutely.
it. And you got
You've got one very close to it.
Spence's
Well,
house,
Spence,
Bill Spence right
Bill
there.
Spence, who his father ran the buildings, the grounds up there for years and years and years.
when
His
I
son still
first-
lives in that little cottage
Yeah.
there.
When I first played, he was a greenskeeper and
Yeah.
a pro and a superintendent and the everything.
My father worked there during the Depression.
Did he really?
Yeah, and my brother Zane worked there in the late 30s, early 40s, I think it was. Yeah.
So Bay State is the created it, did they
Bay
not?
State created it in the 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they was
their employees
basically
up
for
there
their
play.
employees and for town residents
Yeah.
Yeah.
could play there. And that went on for till Bay State. Bay State was sold to Paul Revere, I think, and Paul Revere was. They talked about it, and then Paul Revere split off. I think that after Paul Revere went to Dresser,
Yeah.
and Paul Revere kept the land and was going to sell it for development. Now, when Bay State had it, the town could have gotten the golf course for $1.
I thought I remember
That's
that.
one of those things that the town could have, like Chauncey and the golf course,
Yeah.
for the $1. But town in its infinite wisdom at that time said, nah, we don't want the headaches and everything goes with it. So don't give it to us for $1. So they come back 10 years later when somebody's going to build houses on it and they spend $425,000 to acquire it. But hey, that's history.
That's the way life is.
That's the way it happens. So
Can't look back.
the town bought it because the threat of having houses built there was real,
Which was a good move in the town.
Oh, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
kept it as a golf course. You know, in 1978, the town acquired it.
You know, we have a great golf team now, a high school golf team, because of it.
Super,
Really.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't have one otherwise.
That's right.
You know, and we allow them to go up there and play.
Great.
You know, practice or whatever they do.
I was on a high school golf team. I played golf there.
Did
Yeah.
you? Great.
I had to work. I don't know about you, but I had to work.
Well, I was.
I was allowed to play 2 sports, but otherwise,
Well, that was one of my sports.
Now we have water bans in town, and we see you're watering up there. Let's let folks know where the water comes from. so
water
we don't
comes
get
from
excited about it.
Suasco, which is the pond people see on Mill Road.
So it has
We have
nothing
a
to do with the
pumping
drinking
station
water of
down
the
there.
town.
We pump it across Mill Road and up over, and we actually can pump it into the pond that exists there now.
Great.
Where we used to, that was our irrigation system
Yeah.
back years
That-
ago.
that
When I worked for
pond,
the town,
I raise it just because people go by and they see it, and I can't water my lawn, but you can water the country club. How come? And
oh yeah,
this is the
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
We have a permit to withdraw from Nichols Impoundment. That's what it's officially called, Mill Pond.
Yeah.
And as John said, beside the boat ramp, the boat landing, there's
Great.
a little pump house. And
Yep.
that's the water. That pumps the water to the golf course.
Super.
It's all computer controlled. Knows how much to put down, how much not to put
Wow.
down, when to put it down.
Great.
When
How's
we
your member-
purchased-
excuse me,
when
go ahead.
when we purchased it, I was working for the town at the time, and we enlarged that pond, and we had RH White come in and put the pumps and so on to start an irrigation system there way back years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Great.
probably, I guess we purchased it in the mid-'60s maybe, Dexter? When did we buy that land?
The golf course in 78.
78?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
No, it was before that, wasn't it?
No,
No?
1978.
I know we went up there and excavated that pond out. Must have been doing it for Bay State at the time, I guess, or
78 or
something. I don't know.
79, I don't
We
know.
won't go into that subject, but I know I was involved in it.
We put
Because
dozers
we
in
used
a
to
lot
have
of
RH
places. You
White
can't
come in
do
and
it
pull the
anymore.
pump out every year.
Yeah.
So, okay.
How's your membership?
Well, we've got a quorum right now, but
We're
it's
re-
getting it's going fast. We used to have like 300 waiting list, but now we're down to what, Dex, 87 residents and 7
Is that right?
outsiders, yeah.
Our membership base is good. We've got a quota that we set, and it's been for several years now. I don't remember how long it's been in, but we have a quota of 330 membership units. And a unit is a single golfer, a single senior golfer, a a couple golfer, be it husband and wife or whatever the family membership is, and a senior couple. So there's 4 membership types, and we have 330 of the combination of those. And in the past, we've drawn from a wait list that's been extensive. Some people in the past had put their name on a wait list 5 years before it would come to the top.
Mine was 5 years.
We had a space in the quota. And the reason we have the quota is so that the golf course isn't overrun by golfers.
Absolutely,
Sure. Now, that's not to say that you can't walk off the street and play. You can. You can pay daily greens fees. You can walk, you can ride, however, so long as there's space available. Now, in the afternoons, we have leagues on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. On Wednesday, there's a members league that plays. We also have in the spring now the girls golf team, high school golf team, and in the fall the boys high school golf team, and they play whether they're members or not. They play at no charge.
Wow.
Now, a lot of the juniors are members so that they can practice.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't be able to practice unless they were a member, unless they paid the greens fees. But when it comes time for the golf, they can play regardless of their membership status.
Great.
And we've been doing that for quite a few years. But back to the wait list, we've drawn down the wait list, as John said, over the years. There's been more names because when we send out an invitation to join, not everybody joins. So if we send out 50 to the residents, we might get 25 residents that actually decide to join. There's even a smaller percentage for non-residents. And we keep the split between residents and non-residents to 70% residents and 30% non-residents. If we go back to 1978 when the town bought the property was bought with a combination of town and state funds.
Right. Oh, yeah, right.
So there is taxpayers' dollars invested in the ownership of the property. I don't want to get confused here.
That's right.
But remembering that I said there's some conservation land set aside that the operating committee that John and I are on is not responsible for. That's operated by the Conservation Commission and the, what's the trust?
Yeah, okay.
Not, there's Open Space Committee, but it's under Conservation Commission, but it's managed by the Land Trust that does that charm bracelet. They take care of it and keep the bracelet to keep the paths open. So it's not just golf course land that $425,000 purchased, nor was it just town money that was used for the purchase, so just to make sure. But so far as the operation of the golf course, and in the wintertime, of course, there's no golfers there, so that the town can use it at will whenever for winter sports. But if people are interested in playing golf, they certainly can play on a daily basis. If they're interested in a membership, which allows unlimited golf at no additional charge other than the annual membership, see Jack at the golf course and get your name on the wait list.
Good, great.
Because we're certainly, and if you're on the wait list, you're able to play in the tournaments regardless of you're a member or not. Again, having to pay greens fees, but it gives you the privilege of being available for tournaments if you wish to play in any of the tournaments.
Great.
So there's openings for your name there, Bob.
Yep, we'd like to see you up there,
Got
Bob.
a lot of free time
thanks
and
very
so on,
much.
you know.
Yeah.
You're not splitting wood now, so.
Oh, yes, I am. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming in and spending this time with us. You've helped us understand both your personal lives in town, but also how you've contributed both through the public safety building and the country club. And John, I know you've been on many other committees, as I'm sure Dexter has, so you've been
Yeah, I was on the original
active citizens
Charter
of the
Commission
town,
and
and that's
stuff.
what makes it go. So
I was on the Charter Commission in 1988. That charter didn't pass through. I was on a zoning bylaw committee.
I was on the one that didn't pass either.
We've seen a lot of changes in the town. I mean, I can remember when I was a youngster, you didn't go anywhere, but somebody knew who you were, and you didn't get in trouble because they knew who you were and they knew how to get in touch with your parents.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And it was just, you know,
Yep.
before I could get back to the drugstore and tell my father something had happened, he'd already have known about it.
You know, you had
So-
a teacher to give you a red ruler, and if you went home and complain to your parents,
You
you
got
probably
a
got it
worse
worse
again,
at
worse
home.
red
So
ruler.
Yeah.
I know I got it twice. I got it in the first grade.
That
and I got it in
wasn't
the
just
second
Westborough.
grade.
That was a lot of us went through
Right,
that. So.
right. But in Westborough, where it was a small town, everybody knew everybody else. You know, there was no,
Yeah.
no.
I spent 12 years on the finance committee.
Did you?
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
They're looking for a new member, John.
Yes,
No,
they are.
I've had it. No, I've had it.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they
I
announced
enjoy
the
the-
resignation just the other night.
I enjoy the two committees I'm on now, though. I really do.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming and
Welcome. Happy to be here.
nice of you to do it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.